afternoon and welcome to my channel. Today I'm doing the VR to Lisa and Peggy Papez's 21 tarot questions. It is a VR that really has given me food for thought. And here I am surrounded in tarot decks that I am going to share with you. So let's get on with it. We'll dive straight in. I won't keep you waiting. I'll try not to gab on. I'm a devil for that. So question 1. What is the deck they would have to pry from my cold, dead hands? Easy one. My RWS 2.0. I love this deck. This deck travels with me wherever I go. It lives in this tin that I had printed from Make Playing Cards, and it's lovely. I like the RWS. It is very grubby now because, like I say, it is a workhorse. It is something that I carry everywhere I go, and I use it virtually on a daily basis. I also love it because of the colour, and one of the cards that really does stand out quite particularly is because of its moodiness is the Five of Cups. Just look at that. It's absolutely beautiful. The colour, the lines, it's a beautiful deck. Now, this has a black frame around it, as you can see. Another thing I like about this deck is the fact that the colour bleeds out into the area that is usually white. This adds further meaning for me. It indicates to me that no matter how much we're hemmed in or obstacles that are put in our way to stop us progressing, if we apply ourselves and if we push hard enough and if we do things gently, sometimes we need to be that little bit more pushy, but if we do things in a manner that's subtle, gentle, we can, and also with determination and strength, we can get past those boundaries. We can go further, we can push ourselves, we can reach places that we never thought we would have done. We can, we can just really progress, and we don't let things stop us. And that's what those frames with the colours leaching through really do say to me. And it's on all cards, look at that. Isn't it just beautiful the way it does that? And sometimes it's breaking through borders, and sometimes it's a case of having to go in behind those borders, pulling our colours back because we might be feeling out of our comfort zone, but they're ready there to be breached when we are happy with being in the zone we're in. I just love them. I love this deck so much. So that is the deck that they would have to pry from my cold dead hands, and hopefully that won't be for a very long time. Now, what is my guilty pleasure deck is number 2. My guilty pleasure deck is this, and I'll tell you why. This is my guilty pleasure deck along with this version of it too. They're both first edition, and I got the large size in the wooden box, and it's got a lovely little velvety bag, and this one is my workhorse. This is my collector's one. This is my workhorse. I don't often do that. In fact, I think this is the only deck where I've done this with 2 decks. That is my guilty pleasure because I actually spent more on these 2 than I would have spent on any decks in the past or future. So the Dark Mansion, I won't open the one in the box because the images are the same. That one's got gold matte edging. This has black. My little workhorse has black. And the title card, the images are lovely. The colouring is beautiful. It's a deck that reads beautifully. I love this sun card. I have 2 sun cards in the larger deck. Now this one here is my all-time favourite hermit. I love that little hermit. He's my buddy. He really is. and this is a card I could actually meditate with and step into the card to chat to this guy, because I think he's wise. I think he knows things, you know. So this is my guilty pleasure deck, because it wasn't the cheapest buying the two together. Now, question 3. What is the deck you wished existed? Well, to be perfectly honest with you, there's not really a deck that I wished existed, and that's because there are so many lovely decks out there now, and I think to myself, well, I can't imagine any other decks. There's no one particular deck that I wished existed that doesn't. If I had to pick, I would say I love The Lord of the Rings and I love The Hobbit. So I had a look, and there are decks titled Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. But for me, now I know that was a cartoony deck, but for the topic Lord of the Rings and Hobbit, I found them too cartoony. I needed them to be more lifelike. So if I could get the images that I have in my head of the Lord of the Rings characters, the scenery, the same with the Hobbit, particularly the Hobbit house, I would give them to a clever artist and I would say, work your magic and make me that deck. So that's what I would do. Now, what deck would I give to a new reader? This one was a little bit tricky in one sense, because for me it would depend on the age of the new reader. I have recently gifted 2 decks, and both of them were two of my nieces. The first one for my 12-year-old niece was the Everyday Witch, and the second one was the Llewellyn for my 15-year-old niece. And both of them had the kits with the big books. They both loved them, and they were both age appropriate, and I feel that I love both those decks. Would I consider replacing them having gifted them? I might have done in the past, but not so much now, because to be honest with you, I didn't read with them because I like them because they're beautiful decks. So it would be pure silliness to go spending money on them both again when I am very happy with what I've got. I didn't read with them. They are suited more to the younger reader. Now, if we were going to talk about for adults, I would definitely give the Light Seers as a starter deck. I just think this is a beautiful deck. I love reading with this deck. There you go. The images are just beautiful. It's just stunning. I do love this deck, the Light Seers. I would give this as a gift a Light Seers deck for a beginner's reader, or the Cosmic Cycles. The Cosmic Cycles are what I have in my collection. The Light Seers are what I have in my collection. So if I had to part with one in order for a new, to help somebody out, I would consider it if I knew them very well. This is staying in my collection because I believe it's very difficult to get hold of. And this is the Cosmic Cycles, and this would suit a sort of 16, 17 upwards. It's very modern, very much today's life, today's world. So that's what I would do. That would go. There's no guidebook comes with that, so that would be ideal to go with any RWS guidebook. So that's that one. Now, what deck do you want to get along with, but it just never clicked? And this is a shame because it's something I backed on Kickstarter, and I loved the project. It's the Alleyman. We're just not clicking. Whether it's because there's so many different cards from so many different artists, and the cards, there's I don't know, there's 90 odd cards in it. It's a huge deck. There are some lovely cards, there are some not so lovely cards. I don't know if that's the case, and that Page of Swords doesn't fit my idea of a Page of Swords. So I I would like to have got on with it, but it's in my collection now, so that's where it'll stay. It's just one that we just haven't clicked, which is a shame. Pop that there. Now, what deck do you only keep for the art? I love this deck's art. I don't know why I don't read with it. I just don't reach for it. But the art is lovely. And this is the only one I could really say, well, I've never really read with it. It is the Healing Light Tarot. Now look at it, it is gorgeous. It's absolutely gorgeous. But I just don't read with it. I wouldn't part with it because I do like the art. And I do think I need to revisit this deck and start making some sort of effort. It would be a good deck to meditate with. I love the silhouettes. I love the lights. The colour. It's very clever the way it's being used. But like I say, I just don't read it, but I do love the art. So that's the Healing Light Tarot. What deck did you buy because everybody else bought it? What deck did I buy because everybody else bought it? I'll show you which one it was right now. Just bear with me. The Hush Tarot. That's all I'll say about this one for now. What deck is over your head or just baffles you? The Kabbalistic Tarot. I saw this, I fell in love with it, I ordered it, I watched walkthroughs on it. It's a Eugene Vinitsky deck, it's beautiful. This is number 38, it was made in 2020, it's a first edition. But I struggle, I think I need to learn more about symbolism. I need to understand the Kabbalah Tree of Life a little more for this to mean anything to me. I don't just want to read it as an RWS or a Marseille because the Fool is there. I want to bring in all the symbolism, so I need to apply myself more. Am I going to give up on this? Am I heckers like? It's a beautiful deck. I love it. And I just need to familiarise myself with it a little more than I have done. I haven't been, as this was out in 2020, we're now in 2023. I've had it out and I've put it back, I've had it out again and put it back. And then I put it back and it sat in amongst a lot of decks. Not because I was completely ignoring it, but because I have been doing so much for some time. So now I need to make time for that. Now, what deck surprised me the most? The deck that surprised me the most is the Deviant Moon. I came across this deck in a Mind, Body and Spirit exhibition in the RDS in Dublin. It was sitting on a table all on its own, and I just picked the box up and I thought, oh, this deck wants to come home with me. I just felt really drawn to it. I brought it home, opened it, looked at it and thought, what in the name of Jesus have I just bought? There were images in this that sort of had me shiver. I found it a bit creepy and I thought, why was I drawn to this? You know, the box, the images on the box are okay, they're quirky little images, but they didn't sort of give me an idea as to how strange some of the art in this would be. However, I purchased the Mildred Payne Secret Pocket Oracle, also by Patrick Valenza, and I just thought, I wonder. So I took this deck down, laid out a spread, and I also used the Pocket Oracle in conjunction with it. It read like a dream. And from that moment on, this is a deck that I will very regularly call upon for my readings. That's what caught my eye there then. There you go. It's an amazing deck. It's a very clever deck. The whole Deviant Moon story and the Fenwood Asylum story is fantastic. I think Patrick Valenza must have a phenomenal mind to come up with what he does, and that is beautiful. I keep it in this lovely bag that Anne Fort sent me. Now, what deck doesn't really work for you, but you keep it because it's a collectible? This is just an example of a number of decks by this person that I have on my far shelves down the bottom there, and they are Doreen Virtue decks. I was reading tarot before I was ever reading angel cards, and I took the notion to read them after going to a meditation group, and the lady there used to read, and I thought, oh, these are lovely cards, and she reads them well. But I just found that having a sort of a tarot background, I found there was too much, it was too wordy. On saying that, I have one particular person who would prefer me to read with angel tarot as opposed to traditional tarot, because traditional tarot makes that person feel uncomfortable. That's fine, I don't mind doing that, but it would be a rarity that these would be used, and I do believe that it's quite possible that these are now collector's items. I don't know, I haven't actually looked that up, but yeah, I like them, don't get me wrong. It's not that I don't like them, it's just that I just don't read with them anymore. So that's that. What deck is your favourite Gilded deck? It's this one here. This was my last order. It was, I think it's around September last year it arrived. I'd ordered it in 2020, I think it was the end of 2021, and it came out in 2022. And it is the deliciously beautiful Baroque Tarot by Lamucci. And I love this. This deck calls the user to care for their soul with much love, to open their heart and mind to learn their lessons, and better themselves, and to have faith that all will unravel as it should. And the art is that's the lovely box. The art is fantastic. Look at the backs, and look at this. That gilding is gorgeous. I love the backs as well. But look at the Fool. They're faceless. So you know, this could be male, female. It could be gender neutral, which maybe it is. I don't know. It could be somebody. You know, look at that. Look at that. Look at the magician. It's just, you know, with it not having a face, it makes it a card that can be read so much more deeply. The High Priestess. The artwork is just beautiful. I do love it. So this is the Baroque Tarot, and it's like I say, it's a deck that is just phenomenal. And I love a bit of shiny stuff. So that's that deck. Now, which deck do you love but hate the cardstock? Oh, that's quite an easy one for me. Let me just pop this away. Oops. You don't find sometimes putting these back in their boxes as easy as it should be, you end up being all thumbs and it doesn't go accordingly. Come on, there we go. Pop in there for now. Right. The deck that I love, because I do actually love this deck, but I'm not very fond of the cardstock. And that is my absolutely gorgeous Hanson Roberts deck. Very, very sort of, would you say, retro-y looking. Those are the backs. Now on this table, I poured resin on this table. But before I poured resin on, I painted a little bit in the background. And I stuck tarot cards in. Because I bought this deck previously. And I thought, that can't be right. This is so blooming thin and floppy, you could make paper aeroplanes out of it. It must be a hokey deck. It turns out it wasn't a hokey deck at all, that was the cardstock. So I didn't have to replace it, but I wanted to replace it because I do like this deck. It's just, there's something about it I love. I love the dark outline. It just gives it sort of an older feel, older and wiser type of feel, you know. It's very easy to shuffle. It's very easy to riffle, but be careful you don't actually bend the entire pack in half because it's very, very thin cardstock. Had the cardstock been any thinner, I would definitely not have purchased it. This is the thinnest cardstock I could cope with, because I actually thought to myself they'd be so easy torn, you know, so easy torn. You know, they just bend in half like bits of, I don't know, it's not even cereal cardboard, that's even thicker. But that's the deck. I do love it, it's just the cardstock is a wee bit thin. But that's no crime. The next one. What deck gives you the willies? The Hush Tarot. The Hush Tarot freaks me out. And I'll tell you here now, I have this thing, you know, some people, they don't like spiders, or they don't like bugs, or there's something that, you know, everybody might have a little bit of an aversion to. Mine's eyes. Now, I can look at people in the eyes and chat to them, that's no problem. I don't avert my eyes. But do not ask me to look into your eye if there's a eyelash in the eye. Oh, I feel myself starting to heave. Think about it. Sorry, I can't cope with that. And this deck is full of bloody eyes, dead eyes, full of them. Not just one. There's loads of them. And I think it all stems from when I was in school. We had a kid in our school who I think must be a bit mad. He used to turn his eyelids inside out, and it looked like he'd shoved pink Smarties up his eyelids because, oh, they'd be inside out. Oh. And I can remember him doing that once. I took one look at him, I promptly threw up. I was only a child. It made me feel so sick, and from there on in I couldn't look into eyes. All I see is like a gooey mess. And it was bad. It really was quite bad. And I just couldn't cope. Another thing he used to do is flick his eyes back so far that all you'd see is the whites of his eyes. Well, lo and behold, don't we have one of these in the deck as well? And I just took one look at it and I thought, I can't use this deck. And then I realised that in many of the cards there's something dead. You know, dead birds. You know, dead people. These people, they've been cemented into concrete pillars. You know, I don't know. It's just a card. Now look at this, the High Priestess. And there she is with a dead bird in her hand. What the hell is going on? Oh God, there's this eyeball here in the ground. That, and the bird then pecking her head. I thought, she has to be dead. Oh God, that one kills me. That one I can't look at, so I'm putting that down there. So you can see where I'm coming from. More death and more. So look, here we go. Point proven. More eyes. So no, I can't read with this deck. I bought it because I was being a sheep. Everybody else was waxing, not everybody else, but the majority of people were waxing lyrical about it. Elaine gets it and nearly has a mental breakdown. So that stays at the back. Now, what is your favourite deck for shadow work? I actually use 2 decks for shadow work. I use my Murder of Crows and my Deviant Moon, and I often use them in conjunction with each other because they actually do support each other amazingly well. Because now you could turn around and say, well, Elaine, you know, you can't cope with Hush Tarot, but you can cope with the Murder of Crows. Yes, I can, because I'm not staring into blank eyeballs. It's a deck that is quite eerie. It is an eerie deck. but it's all like, you know, the old medicine doctors' masks and things, and crow-shaped faces. It's its own little brand of darkness that doesn't make me want to chuck up my lungs, you know. Oh, that's that. I know we all have our own little foibles, and mine is a very odd one. We can blame some daft kid in school that thought it was funny to make people sick. Yeah, no, that was disturbing. So, those two there. What deck do you love in theory but not in practice? The Alleyman. In theory, great idea. It just doesn't work. It's not practical enough. Too many, too much. What deck would you never use to read for somebody else? The Hush Tarot. What deck would you never use to read for myself? The Hush Tarot. What deck could you not bring yourself to buy? I couldn't bring myself to buy anything that is really ridiculously priced. My guilty pleasure were the two decks that I bought at the one time of the same deck, the one I'm using is a collector's version, and the Workhorse. That was me being extremely extravagant. So I wouldn't spend more than that. In fact, I probably won't ever spend that on a tarot deck again. But I just can't see. I can't pay three figures and more for tarot decks. What's my favourite pip deck? Right. My favourite pip deck is the Marshmallow Marseille. I really love this little dude. It is a beautiful little deck, and it's that sort of deck that when you hold it, you just cherish it. You just think, oh, you little cutie pie, you know. It really is nice. It's lovely to read with, and it was great. This was what started me off on Marseille, I have to be honest. It really is lovely. And I have the sister deck, the Cyrene, on the shelf as well. Two amazing decks, but as soon as I got this first, this has to naturally be my favourite. I was watching another one of these VRs prior to recording mine, and I can't remember the lady's name, so I do profusely apologise, and she's shown her favourite pip deck, and she told us the Squid Cake Tarot. Now I hadn't purchased a deck since my Baroque, and that was purchased ages ago and came out last September, around about that time. Last weekend, hubby and I went away to Mullinavat in County Kilkenny, and I got myself a gold foil tarot deck, and I haven't bought a tarot deck for ages, so it was great to get a gold foil deck. So when I watched this walked and I saw the Squid Cake Tarot, I thought, oh God, don't start this buying splurge again, Elaine. But I put it in the Amazon basket last night and it arrived today. Happy days, and thank you very much. Whoever you are, if you remember, if you see this, thank you, thank you, thank you. Beautiful deck. Now that I've stopped mooning over that deck, let's move on. What deck slaps you with the truth? Again, this deck slaps me with the truth. The Tarot of the Abyss, followed swiftly by this one, and again sometimes working in conjunction with each other, but this is a slapper of faces, and it's a beautiful deck, the Tarot of the Abyss. I'm actually using it at the moment in a project on Ancestral Tarot, and I just love Anne Torian's artwork. It's beautiful. It's simply magnificent. I think she's an extremely clever lady, the way she designs her tarot decks, and everything has meaning. There's one card in here that is, oh sorry, I'm just going to digress there. See, this is the sort of thing that is why I'm using it to work on Ancestral Tarot at the moment. And it's from that I'm getting such a lot of, well, kicks in the backside, to be quite honest with you. It's a stunning deck, but there's one particular card that is my absolute favourite. And I shall show you right now. It's a very clever card, very, very clever. You watch, it'll probably be the last one in the blooming deck. Going through it like this, and it'll be the last one. Here we go, the Ten of Pentacles. Look at that. Isn't that just so beautiful? Look at that one. Yes, so this one does give you a kick up the posterior should you actually need it, which quite often in life I tend to need now and again. Well, not now and again, quite often. Right, what is the deck that got away? The deck that got away, I don't have it here because it got away, is the Bone, Stone and Earthflesh Tarot. That was a deck created by what's her name? Cameron, Avalon Cameron, and the artwork was by Anne Torian, and that is why I wanted it so badly. Unfortunately, I hadn't even realised that there was a Kickstarter going, because at that time, when it was first thought of, I didn't even realise Kickstarter existed. That was something I learned as I joined and got involved in YouTube. But when it did come out, I think it was a number of years later, it was coming out around about the time I think I'd been in TarotTube for about a year, and I just hadn't heard about it. People weren't really talking about it as such. But when it came out, and of course there's a lot of furor with it, I was mesmerised by that deck, and I thought to myself, Mother of Divine God, I've got to get myself one. So I started trawling the internet, and my goodness did I want this deck. And then I saw what people were reselling them for. My heart dropped to the soles of my feet, and I thought, no way, I love that deck. But I could never, ever justify paying 3 and 4 figures for the deck. I think it was eBay I saw it on. It was over €1,000, well over. And I thought to myself, is that right? A misprint? Nope, no, it wasn't. And then, you know, some people initially were selling it for like 400, 500, 600, and I thought, I bet they didn't pay that on blooming Kickstarter. So then when the creator had some left, and she herself got onto this bandwagon of selling them off for crazy moolah, which she's entitled to, I just thought, that is a deck that you're not meant to have. And I thought to myself, it's sad. It's been put out of the reach of many, many people. Don't get me wrong, I'm not mean or anything, but I just couldn't justify spending that amount on a tarot deck. You know, I buy decks and I live within my means. If I was to buy something, a deck for prices like that, I'd have to take out a loan to do it, and there's no way. I've never taken out a loan to cover for Christmas, so I'm hardly likely to take out a loan to buy a tarot deck. So that's my rant, my moan, my vent time. Can you tell I've had a bit of a crappy day? I'm not even going to go into it, but I've enjoyed sharing this information with you. I hope you've enjoyed watching, and let us all hear what your 21 tarot question answers are. It's bank holiday weekend here this weekend, so have a lovely weekend, whatever you may be doing. I hope the sun is shining, and I hope you are in a happy place, because after today I need to pick myself up, dust myself down and say, carry on, Elaine. Remember the borders in your RWS. They're not going to keep you in. Take care. Bye-bye now.